are so many coaches, mindset gurus all over social media, and sometimes I'll watch them and I think, yeah, I resonate. But there are a lot of times I feel physically sick because I can really smell the lack of authenticity. It's boring, it's always regurgitated on something. It's been people that were Muslim, then it was people who were black, then it was people who were Chinese, and then it's the gay community. Now it's trans, people who want to identify as they, them, and non-binary, and then it will go around something else. There's always something to keep you living in fear.
I don't associate myself with too many people. I'm happy with my own company. I could go a month without seeing anybody, but still be okay. So, am I mentally ill? Welcome back to my channel where we discuss personal development, business and everything else that's connected. If this is the first time you are visiting my channel, then please hit the like and subscribe button. Just to let you know, we are now releasing videos every Wednesday 11 AM and every Sunday 3 PM. Make sure to tune in as you don't want to miss them. What I do is I do a Q&A.
Do you?
On my Instagram a few times a week. And literally this morning, so yesterday I said to the people that follow me, I said, what are you struggling with? Like, I'll ask fire away questions, and usually it's about mindset, and usually it's about business and that sort of thing. So literally this morning, somebody asks me, I have a sex addiction.
You're lying.
I swear to God. And I'm like...
On your Instagram today?
Yeah.
I didn't see that on your Instagram.
No, they asked me the question.
Yeah, but did you not post something up?
Yeah, yesterday I put up what you're struggling with. It's been 24 hours, so it's
right,
gone.
that's probably why I didn't see it.
So, in my head I thought, I'm not going to answer that question. I'm going to ask you to answer that question.
Why are you going to get me
because
to answer that question?
It says all over your profile.
Yeah, just one of my
and I feel like you will answer that better than I will, probably. You know?
So what was his question, though?
So his question was literally...
Do I have a sex addiction?
No, his question was literally addicted to sex. What he said was addicted to adultery, and obviously he just didn't want to use porn, but what he was saying was that I'm watching porn, and obviously that's something that I need to work on.
Well, porn is different. So is he addicted to having sex with different people, or is it porn?
He didn't say that. He just said addicted to adultery.
Adultery, so that's what...
That you could interpret that as...
Well, porn is not adultery.
I took from that he was saying that watching porn. That's what I took from it. But it could be also, you're right.
I'll touch on both.
Yeah, no, but this is a quick fire one.
All right. Bossy, isn't he? Fucking hell.
But you can just say something.
All right, bro.
Are you on the spot now?
No, not in South now, am I? Definitely have Manchester now.
We'll do that afterwards.
Sure.
We'll do that.
What was the other questions?
That's it.
That was the only one?
From that? Yeah.
Okay.
But we'll
do our thing, innit? We'll vibe.
We'll do our thing.
Mad for it.
Well, Mr. Tanay.
Are we recording?
Yeah, we
I'm just yapping away, like, that's all good.
But that's good, though. That's, you know...
I have ADHD as well, so I'll probably flick between lots
What
of
is
things.
ADHD?
It means I have a superpower.
Right.
That's basically it.
Don't say that, because everyone's going to use that now.
Bro, that's all you need to know, is I'm a superpower. So...
Superpower with... Is it like you're addicted to something?
No, a lot of people, actually, who have ADHD happen to also have addiction.
Would you say everyone's got ADHD at some point?
No, I mean, I think you know, the old TikTok and information and misinformation, I think there was a big spurt of everyone wanting to know if they've got ADHD or autism.
Yeah.
And I think...
We're started, by the way. We just roll like that.
We just roll like that?
Yeah.
Okay. Didn't even introduce, didn't say hello or nothing.
No, we do that all along the way.
Do we?
Leave people a little bit curious, like, who is this guy? You know, they already know you're a superstar.
What's going on here today?
Because they've already seen TikToks and everything. So,
right. Well, there's lots of people that are, you know, talking about autism and ADHD and bits and pieces, right? So I would say if anyone wants to know if they have, and they look at the research, you have to, the waiting list is so long.
The waiting list.
To get assessed to even find out if you have.
But that's if you go through NHS, right?
Yeah, if you go private, it's obviously going to cost you a little bit more than nothing.
So wait a minute. So what you're saying is that there's a test out there for ADHD?
Yeah.
Right. So if somebody was to go, let's say, through NHS.
You're looking 2-year waiting list.
Wow.
But it also depends. So
What about if you go private?
if you want to go private, and it's quicker, way quicker.
See, I already know this. This conversation is going to be interesting.
I think, yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people that go private, but you have to understand that if you want to have a diagnosis, the first question they'll ask you is, how is it impacting your mental health? And that's the real priority, is if it's affecting your mental health.
Yeah.
Because there's lots of behavioural issues attached to, say, something like ADHD and autism, like emotional dysregulation, that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
But for me, I don't. I think I've always known, and I only found out a couple of years ago, and but I've always known really. It makes sense why I was always misunderstood.
You was misunderstood.
Definitely, as a kid, I was always misunderstood. I was always somewhere else. Couldn't sit still.
So you wasn't present in the moment. You were just, your mind was somewhere else.
But you see, this is the thing. They say people with ADHD can't focus, but that's not actually true. You can hyper-focus. So if it's something I'm interested in, I'll focus the hell out of it. So that's why I say it's my superpower, because sometimes you get shit done. Because when you're in that hyper-focus mode, boom. Like when I first did my website, I was just on it and harassing the person that was doing my website. I was like, no, I kind of want this and I want that, and boom, 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 boom. You know, so there is that fast-paced, but there's little other bits and pieces. For example, I can't read very well on white paper. I find pale green background, I can absorb the words more. Otherwise, the head goes off somewhere else.
But have you done the test then? That's why you know.
No, I have. I basically, in what I do for a living, I had access to a whole team because of what I did. So I went through it that way.
Okay, so let's just get right into it with people, just if they don't know who you are, right? So you do a lot of things.
And that's because I have ADHD. I'm joking.
Because literally, you know, you're big with NHS, right?
Yes, so I'm in CAMS at the moment, child and adolescent mental health. So I'm the operations for Essex. And basically what my job is to look after all the Band 7 nurses, which are the senior nurses that go into all the GP surgeries, and basically work with anyone to low to moderate level of mental health within the surgeries. Because what we have to look at with mental health is that we are that bit in between. So someone goes to the GP sends them to mental health for secondary treatment, and they go, you don't meet the criteria. And then they go back to the GP, and then what happens? So we're the bit in the middle. It's just like, well, let's treat mental health before it becomes mental illness.
Yeah.
So if it's low to moderate, anxiety, low mood, emotional regulation, need some coping strategies and some skills, we'll be able to basically work with them.
Yeah.
And then if their presentation gets worse, or we notice that there's been a shift, they'll be able to then move them forward into this, to the secondary pathway. So I've been doing that for a while. I did that with adults first. Now I'm doing it with the young ones. So yeah, I've been at the NHS for in total about 3 years.
You also do a lot of private work. You're an addiction specialist
Yes.
in many different forms. Like you do unconscious mind therapy, right? You do a lot of things. That I read somewhere as well. It said psychosexual issues, right? These are some interesting topics. So I feel like we need to break down each one, but if we can just go into what is mental health, because let's face it, it's a big subject. Like I've got a message which I portray on social media, and educate me, what is mental health?
I always like to look at it as what's our mental wealth.
What is our mental wealth? What does that even mean?
Well, if I said that to you, what does that signify to you? What does that represent? If I said, what's your
For me,
mental
if you
wealth?
said what's your mental wealth, I would interpret that as what's your mind capacity? What do you know? What knowledge you have? Where? How do you think?
How do you look after yourself? What's
everything.
your routine? What
Got it,
coping strategies?
Yeah.
So I know gym is a big one for you. God knows you've lectured me enough about it yesterday, and I'm only joking. But
You're also a performance coach.
yes, that's right. And I'm already assessing you today, so
Yeah.
I'll let you know how you do at the end of it.
I think, if I ever wanted anyone to do an interview me, I would probably want you to do it.
Why?
Because I feel like you're qualified in so many different things. No, seriously, like, you do a lot of good things here, and I feel like you'll probably be able to break down things right.
I'm just passionate about what we do, right? So I know we're going slightly off topic, and I'll come back on point, but there are so many coaches, mindset gurus, lots of different people all over social media.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'll watch them and I think, yeah, I resonate. But there are a lot of times I feel physically sick because I can really smell the lack
bullshit.
of all. Yeah,
It's uncensored. Don't worry about it.
Uncensored. Yeah. So the lack of authenticity.
Yeah.
You know, it's like I'm a dodgy geezer trying to sell your product down the alleyway.
But give me an example. Like, what have you seen and you think like that?
I don't know. It's just.
Or it just doesn't feel right.
It's just personal preference. I think it's because, you know, as a therapist, if I'm going to see a therapist, I kind of want to know that my therapist has experienced life and kind of maybe knows, you know, that's just for me.
Got it.
Not just a textbook.
Yeah,
Although, let's be honest, most therapists who work in the field have been touched by an issue in some shape or form, or if it's a specialism, it's because it's close to their heart in some way, whether it's personal experience or, you know, witnessing it in their own family, especially like something like addiction or something. And of course, as a human being, we've all gone through issues. There is no human being is free of issues, that's for sure. But for me, it's about that relatable, personable factor. And I think what I like about the performance coaching element is that you can be a bit more personable, whereas some therapists can be super boundaried and not give anything. And I struggle with that in the field, you know, with certain therapists that are like that, because you're asking someone to get vulnerable and share their life. You kind of want to know you're getting some feedback, you're not talking to a brick wall.
Yeah.
And that's not to say that everyone is like that. I've met some incredible therapists, but when I was training and I was learning, it was super boundaried around lots of different stuff. But I think it's like when you learn to drive. As soon as you learned to drive, did you still stick with the push-pull method?
No.
Right. So it's a bit like that, I think, with some of the skills. And I think life and experience teaches you how you want to be, and it's mirror your client. It depends on the client, and it's also energy. It's rapport, isn't it? You're just building rapport. It's a therapeutic relationship, and I think some you'll vibe easier than others. And I just think you'll know about me if you work with me, and I won't sell you no shit. And I get it. Social media is a platform, but I only say something if I've got something to say. I can't get caught up in got to get content out for the sake of content, because then what happens is I run down that territory of being maybe disingenuous, you know, because I just think it's all about the content. I think it's about the message, and that might be wrong, but it depends on what your goal is. And my goal isn't to generate a stupendous income through Instagram or TikTok or anything like that.
Yeah.
It's literally I do it while it's still fun. People that follow, I give some information, bits and pieces, and I'm happy with that. And I just like to wear it like a loose garment, not a wetsuit. And
Interesting.
some of this stuff that I see, I really struggle with, and I think everyone seems to be a coach all of a sudden, but they don't put their qualifications up, and that's the danger. There isn't as great regulations around. I mean, there's nothing tomorrow stopping you opening up a counselling practice. There's no law that says you can't.
Yeah, it's not regulated like as such, is it?
You know, it's not. I mean, you've got.
But then, what would the qualifications be for someone to be a coach?
Well, a minimum you need is a diploma in counselling and psychotherapy. A level 4 diploma is your minimum. But then, you know, you've got regulatory bodies like the BACP, British Association of Counselling and Psychology. So they are the big players in the game. And so if someone's registered, they are basically saying that they recognise they've trained enough hours, they've had enough practice hours. So, you know, there are some things out there, but I've basically, the reason why I say it is because I've seen a lot of clients who've been to certain coaches, especially like recovery coaches or alcohol coaches, and they are really good at handling situations where you and I was talking yesterday, and there was, you know, you quite like working with certain clients, and they listen and they get on with it and they just get on and do it. And that works really well in those spaces. But then when there's real challenges, some of them are not equipped to actually handle the fallout and to deal with that, because they're not a counsellor or psychotherapist, or they don't have that experience. And what that does is that really tarnishes the good name of some of them really good coaches out there. You know, and I know a few that are really good, and it's the same for therapists. I've heard some stories again, you know, and I think, whoa, that's a bad advert for therapy. But I just really struggle with it because it's on social media, so therefore it's for everyone to see.
Yeah.
But I like to think people are a bit more smart, you know, when they're watching that. If you don't feel it, it's quite often it's bullshit. So I do personally struggle with that. It doesn't mean to say the whole process is wrong.
Yeah, it's
that's
just
my opinion.
Got it.
It doesn't mean I'm right. It's just you know, it's just my
Just
opinion.
how you see it, right?
Absolutely, yeah. But there are some good ones.
So, mental health.
Yeah.
What is mental health?
So again, yeah, I said to you about mental wealth, looking at what you've got. So when we're looking at mental health,
Yeah.
we're looking at the negative aspects of what's happening, what's impacting you.
Yeah.
And it's not the event that affects us, it's the interpretation to the event, right? So let's go, say anxiety, for example. You know, so many of us can talk about anxiety if it's a bad thing.
Yeah.
But actually, we need anxiety because it's the brain's way of coping and keeping you alive, keeping you survival.
What is anxiety
So
for you?
for me, it's a survival mechanism. So if I'm hanging off the edge of a cliff, I'm going to get quite anxious because the brain wants to survive. So it's going to go, well, hold on. Frontal cortex is going to start talking to midbrain, going, careful there, mate. You're going to fall off there. And you go, oh, yeah, right, oh, yeah, back up. So we kind of need a bit of that, you know. But the problem with that is that the brain does its job too well. And so, therefore, when you get anxious, depending on what it is, you can release your stress hormone.
Right.
So that's pumping loads of cortisol around your body. You know, I always give this as an example. Imagine there's a deer, you know, eating in the forest, and the tiger pops out. Right, the fight or flight kicks in, stress hormone, you know, gets really, and it gets out of danger. What do you think happens when it's out of danger? The deer. What does a deer do when it gets out of danger?
It goes back into comfort zone, I suppose.
Goes back and continues to eat the grass.
Yeah.
Humans, we don't do that. Never guess what, John? This happened the other day. We start reliving it in our moment. I should have said this, and or I can't really cope with that. And we start reliving it, looking in the mirror, talking about it, lying at bed, got palpitations. And all of a sudden, it's impacting the way that we behave, the way that we live. We then associate other situations because the feeling is the same.
Yeah.
And so we continue. We don't resume eating the grass. But there will be some people that are able to just dust it off and go, oh, well, that's just life, isn't it? That's just stuff. That's all mindset. That's interpretation.
Yeah.
So mental health is the way that we interact and the way that we interpret what's going on around us. And these things can affect us. You know, we're still sensitive. We're human beings. You know.
So when people say that, oh, I've got mental health problems and I've got, you know, I've got like, it could be anything, right?
And I think it's too broad when you say that. So you have to be specific. Okay, well, when you say you've got mental health issues, what does that mean?
Yeah.
Because, you know, our health, we've got physical health, we've got mental health. It's not necessarily a bad thing. It's how you're interpreting it and what you're talking about. So that's why I always like to talk about, well, that's all great, but what's your mental health? What coping strategies have you got? What skill set do you bring? How do you cope in certain situations? You know, like, for example, I just come back from holiday.
Yeah.
And you can just watch. I love people watching. You can just see how different everybody is.
Do you do that? Like, just study it?
I love watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fascinating. And I was in the queue, and you could see the really anxious guy wanted to try and push in. And it's like, you're pushing into a queue that we're all getting on the plane. You've got your allocated seat. Relax. But he's obviously anxious, right? He wants to get on there. And then you had this other guy that was like, don't worry, relax. And his son was getting annoyed that he was pushing in. He was like, we're all getting on the plane. Just relax. And that's his interpretation.
Love it, yeah.
Two very different, you know, perspectives. You're half glass empty or you're half glass full, right? So these are interpretations of what goes on around us in our environment, play a big part.
Yeah.
Our social factors. What are our protective factors? So, you know, you're a lonely person. Do you have family? Do you live in a good area, a deprived area? Is there lots of opportunity? Is there no opportunity? Are you watching success all around you, but you can't? You know, all these things play a part, you know, and again, that's where social media can be quite powerful, right? So we've probably got more mental health issues on body image, around what success really looks like because of social media. There's some brilliant stuff in social media, but there's some really dangerous and irresponsible.
The good comes with the bad, doesn't it?
Of course it does. It's just the way it is. It's how you interpret it.
Yeah.
You know, and some of it's quite frightening, really. And I think to see a lot of young folk thinking that's how I need to be, they don't realise that they're using all the filters. They've got programs now that can take out body fat. So make sure you're doing that wherever you are on the old tummy area. I've just come back from holiday.
We're going to leave that in, by the way.
Well, we can leave that. Oh, let's just suck it in more.
Just breathe in.
Just breathe in.
Or just go and work out. Then you wouldn't have to do that.
See, I was waiting how long it would take. So I'm going to take this moment to pour myself some of my...
Yeah, I was just going to say, we bought tea, but you'd never put it in.
Yeah, you're not going to let me forget that you bought this tea as well, so that's good.
No, I mean, we brought it up. No.
You brought it up, which is great. I appreciate the service. It's very, very kind of you. Thank you. I'm just sipping
Of
the
course,
tea.
you're my guest today. It's all about making sure you're comfortable.
Lovely.
Is that do you need? Is it, you got sugar or? You
Don't need sugar in that. No, in the green tea.
What is it? Green tea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So again, they're using all these programs and these filters.
And they don't help, do they?
I mean, it just. I mean, I've got caught up in it myself. Not in pictures.
I've never used a filter.
Well, not the filters, but like just when you're watching and you're influenced by social media. Like
It's like you're programmed, aren't you?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I use the cinematic, like video, right? I use the cinematic, for example, and I watch some beautiful location videos they do. When they go on holiday. So I've taken that and I was like, yeah. So when I'm on holiday, I'm trying to swoop it down and move down and do all this little stuff that makes you real at the end. So I get caught up in that. But that's a good thing. That's not. That's not a negative thing.
It makes you feel good, that, yeah?
Yeah, but then there's the other end, isn't there? Where people are trying to get the most perfect picture, the perfect image. You know, I think I was on holiday and I saw some lady doing a TikTok kind of video of some sort, right? And she was living her best life, man. She didn't care what she was around, but it was the whole Kardashian vibe. It was a whole kind of like the lips thing, and it's just like, and that's all, you know, let her enjoy herself. But there are a lot that get caught up in that says that's what beautiful is. And so we have to be careful what we put out on social media.
So when people say they've got mental health problems, like you said, let's just look at that as an umbrella.
Yep.
And let's just look at it as a bouquet of flowers, and there's so many different, like a tree, and so many different branches to it. Can that be, is it any part of the mental health which is an illness, which can't be repaired? Pay attention, I've got some exciting news for you guys. I've launched a 7-day total free audio course for you guys, which is going to help you improve and elevate your mindset, and it's also going to help you in your business. All you have to do is go and sign up every single day, day 1 to day 7. You will receive a free 2-minute audio from me in my own words, in my voice, and what that will do is help you in your business and your mindset. Make sure you go and sign up and let me know how you find it.
Mental illness is different to mental health.
Please tell me.
So mental illness is a diagnosable condition, right? So you're talking bipolar disorder.
So what is bipolar? What is bipolar?
So with all of the disorders, these are diagnosed with a professional, with a doctor, a psychiatrist, and
so I'm really interested to know, under mental illness...
It used to be called manic depression, right, which I hate
manic
that
depression.
term. It used to be called manic depression.
That even sounds...
They love a label in this country, and sometimes they're quite scary. I mean, that's not a nice thing to be, you know...
No, that sounds a bit...
manic depressive. It's a real derogatory term, really. But it's where they have bouts of depression at such a severe level, but then they get some super highs as well at the same time, and they will call it mania, if you like. So... bipolar disorder
comes under mental illness.
The polar end of the spectrum, which bi meaning two, I guess. So it's like it's two. You know,
so you got like a switch. You switch from here to there.
Yeah, that's not my expertise.
But doesn't everyone do that to a point?
Well, that's where you'll go to things like personality disorder. This is why I like talking about personality disorder, because people can be diagnosed with a personality disorder, but then the name is in. You know, the key thing is in the name. It's part of your personality, and all of us will get into moments of these kind of disorders. Loads of us will be irrational at some point. Loads of us will expect everyone else to do everything for us at one point.
Yeah.
Loads of us won't be able to see the woods for the trees. You know. So these are elements of your personality. But normally, my view is because of some kind of trauma that's happened.
Yeah.
This is where a personality disorder
from childhood.
can. Not always from childhood, but yeah, quite often. So when we're talking mental illness. That's where, you know, you can't just say, go to the gym and just do this little thing. You need more
than that, yeah.
More interventions, more to understand. And usually there's a cause because of trauma, you know, attachment, many different traumas. You know, you can have mini traumas, a single trauma, or a collection of trauma. So the aim here is to treat mental health before it becomes mental illness.
Interesting.
So if you've got anxiety and it's affecting your mental health, and then you don't get any help, you don't do anything to change, that's going to get worse. And then worse and worse and worse and worse. So then you might isolate from everybody else, become completely housebound, never go out, get then social anxiety, being around people, it starts to change and shift, and all of a sudden, you know, it's gotten to such a worse state that it's now bordering into the territory of mental illness. So
It's interesting you say that. Cheryl, can you just turn the AC on? I'm sure the AC is not on. I'm getting a bit warm. It's interesting you say that. We'll edit that part out, or we'll leave it in.
But this is my point. There's mental illness right there. The air conditioning is on.
So I'm mentally ill.
I feel like I need to have a German accent sitting in these chairs. Tell me, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, so it's interesting you say that, because, see me, I don't associate myself with too many people, right? So I'm very selective I'm happy with my own company, but then I'm very selective in who I speak to. If I could go a month without seeing anybody, meaning go out and, you know, be social around 5-6 people, or just meet I could do that, but still be okay. Mm-hmm. So
I would go on further.
Am I mentally ill?
No, you're not mentally ill. I also think that's a lot to do with your past.
Yeah.
And how you survived in your past.
Yeah.
And what you then got used to for 10 years.
Yeah.
So then that becomes your coping strategy. You know, we're very adaptive people. We're very clever. Think about COVID, for example, right? How many people
Big subject.
Stayed at home?
What do you think of COVID anyway? Because were you working in NHS?
Yeah, I was working throughout. Yeah.
So give me some inside information.
It was beautiful, lockdown one. I loved it. It was lovely. That was really, really lovely.
What do you mean by
Mother Earth
that?
breathed. It was just quiet. It took me like 15 minutes to get to work.
Yeah.
I spent more time with my daughter.
But was they people in NHS? Was it ambulances coming in and out?
I wasn't working in the hospital. I don't work in the hospital, so I have no idea.
Right.
You know, obviously it wasn't, you know, tongue in cheek when I say it was great, because obviously it wasn't great. There was a lot of people who sadly lost their lives, and
I think the sad part was people couldn't see their loved ones, right?
yeah, I was terrified because it was the unknown and didn't know what was really going on.
Yeah.
And whether or not people believe it or not, the virus exists. You know, whether or not you know, there are conspiracy theorists, and I have my own belief system, and you know, and I just think it was a very, very bizarre time, and I think no one was prepared for the sudden change, and so mental health issues increased because suddenly people can't go out, people can't do all the things that give them joy. So especially, you know, working really hard, there are people who like to play golf or tennis or football, couldn't do any of that. You know, couldn't do anything. We were being told who we can see, not see. I mean, my own mum wouldn't even let me in the house. We had to go into the garden. Yeah, my mum was really terrified.
People were genuinely frightened, weren't they?
For a short time, we would come
Especially
in
that
at the door.
First stage, right?
Yeah, clothes off at the front door, straight into the washing machine, wiping down shopping and packages and stuff. Like, we got caught up right in the middle of it.
I never got caught up on all that.
Well, because again, interpretation.
Yeah.
And what I interpreted is, I've got an 8-year-old daughter.
Yeah.
I'm asthmatic. I don't want to, you know. And what they were putting out there, I thought, right, well, if it's affecting your breathing, so I think it was just based on the information that you had at the time.
Yeah.
But certainly a lot of people were struggling around their mental health, and even I, after that happened, I found myself not seeing as many people.
Right.
Because you then got used to it, adapted to just being in your immediate circle. And then actually the first time I went to like I was about to say house party, right? But those days are gone. It was just loads of kids. It was a party at my mate's house, and I've forgotten how to work the room. You know, I used to be pretty good at working the room when I go to like someone's house, and you know, or an event, and there's lots of different people.
You were working the bar fine yesterday.
Huh? I was working the what?
The bar.
Working the bar.
Yeah.
I'm just a friendly
Yeah.
person talking to people, not drinking. I want to be very clear on that. When he says work in the bar, it doesn't actually mean drinking at the bar.
I mean, it's just, you know, networking.
Yeah, just networking, just talking. Yeah, of course. But no, I went and I was just like, I'd seen a couple of people, and pretty much people were then starting to leave, and I thought, I've even forgotten how to work the room and spread my time out, because I learned about quality rather than the quantity. And I think that was really important. That was my own journey of discovery through COVID. I also let go of relationships I didn't really want to be around, because actually I found I didn't really miss those relationships, or I was trying to reignite or engage in those relationships that weren't reciprocating. But then people will get sensitive about that because they were like, well, no one's picking up the phone. It's like, well, actually, everyone's interpreting things differently, and some people are isolating. So I did do a lot of checking on those that I felt needed checking in on, but also found through it that there are certain people I didn't need to continue having in my life anymore, and I'm all right with that, and it's, it is what it is. But there are a lot of people, I would say now, we are very angry now.
Do you think, like, on the back of that, you mean?
Off the back of all of that, for a period, because I worked for it the whole time.
Yeah.
I mean, I even had to have a document. I felt like I was in a World War movie. Like, I could be out, like with this letter. I had to give this letter to the police. It was just ridiculous.
What's that for, though?
To say that I'm working through the pandemic and la la la.
Oh, when you was travelling?
Yeah, in the car. And
did you ever get pulled over?
Yeah, I got pulled over. I was just, letter, okay, thanks, off you go. And off you go. I go and get tested, and mask and thing for the window and up the nose and back there. And it was all very kind of odd. And, I, at the end of it, I noticed how people were a lot more friendly. I mean, when you go out, when you're allowed, do you remember when you was allowed out on your half an hour walk or your hour walk of exercise outside or whatever? So I remember going out, and every time I see a person, I would engage. I'd say hello, because you don't know if they're seeing anyone at all, if they've got any friends or family. You don't know anything, so you never know what impact you might have.
So your therapist was kicking in on you.
Well, I was more
empathy, more. Yeah,
it made me look at my community more. It made me really regard and care for my community more.
Nice,
and that was just my interpretation. That's why I thought I'm just going to do that. And then that's when I started using social media. That's when I started my Instagram. I started a movement called Start Your Day on Purpose. It was a mental health awareness movement.
Start your day on purpose.
Yeah, and it was through watching an old friend I haven't seen for a long time, and he made these videos. He's an ex-Marine, and he kind of said this many videos, and one of them just said "Start Your Day on Purpose," and it just resonated with me, and I just thought, So I got in contact and said, I want to use it and make a thing of it. And then we sort of teamed up and did some stuff together and did some lives, and the purpose is to start your day with intention. And I do it every morning. Get in the cold shower, say start your day on purpose, get in that cold shower, and I'm ready to start my day. And it's because everyone's day bled into one. People working from home, people were overworking, and there was no off button, no boundary. So some people didn't know what their purpose was. So it was just trying to get a kind of viral, positive message with social media. And it was great. With so many people putting hashtag started on purpose, so many people sending me videos, so many people in the public eye doing it, and it was just really good fun. And so that came out of it. And then we started working in it again, and everyone started to come out more. And then I've noticed, the last sort of year and a half, couple of years, everyone's just more back into that. Get out my way. You're in my way. And hurry up, hurry up, hurry up. The roads, the drivers, just the attitude in people. And a lot of that.
So you think people are more angry?
Definitely. I mean, if you look at, remember I said to you in the beginning about the environment.
Yeah.
Our environment around us. And, I'm not heavily into politics, and I'll try and stay away from it because I'm not an expert in that area. But we've been lied to a lot. You could say all politicians lie, but there's a lot of nonsense, and you've got a government fighting and arguing with each other, like a couple of entitled school kids behind the bike sheds, and it's embarrassing. And so if they don't know the answers and they're arguing, there's split, and they're constantly splitting, and there's constant thing about there's racism, there's this one and that one, and it's just so negative. And I think people are sucking onto a lot of that. Now it's all about immigrants. It's like, really, like there's always something. And my view is it's always look over there so you're not looking over here. So I don't get caught up in that too much. But I think they'll always spin a narrative. But the only thing I'll say on that, we say immigrants, but if people from Britain move around the world, they're expats. I find that quite interesting. You're an immigrant. If you leave this country and you move to Australia or move to New Zealand or move to Africa or wherever you move, you're an immigrant. You're not an expat. You're an immigrant.
Interesting. So
it's an interesting narrative, but that's about as political as I'm going to go around that. But yeah, so I've noticed people have become more and more angry and agitated. and that's the environment.
What's the solution to that, though?
Well, exactly. What is the solution to that? And so, goes back to the community again. We need to start looking after our communities more. It's easier said than done. You've got to get the buy-in.
I think people are dying for communities as well.
But this cost of living, the environment, everything changing around for a lot of people. Then there's this whole argument about the transgender movement, and again, more splitting, more negative. Let's find something to hang somebody out to dry, really, and just it's boring. It's always regurgitated. Focus on something, and I've watched it, like pandemics,
Yeah.
and viruses and illnesses. It's been people that were Muslim, then it was people who were black, then it was people who were Chinese, and it was like there was an Asian movement, and then it's back to being into the gay community, and now it's trans, and now it's about people who want to identify as they, them, and non-binary, and then it will go around something else. There's always something to keep you living in fear, and that's why I don't really put on the TV too much, because I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to get caught up in that, and if I'm vulnerable and susceptible to that stuff, I'm going to believe all that.
Yeah.
That's why, again, bringing back to social media, the comments and all that kind of stuff, it's going to impact your mental health, especially if it's in line with what you agree with, right? Or if you disagree with, confirmation bias. If I saw loads of comments and I disagree with it, it's going to bring up something, right? Then I start getting it and someone else gets in it, and all of a sudden you're having this keyboard warrior kind of process. So it's around us all the time, and it's how you interpret it, and that's how our mental health can get worse. So it depends. So we have to be responsible around it, limit what we're on. I speak for me. I have to limit what I look at. Sometimes I might even type something out on a social media, and then just typing it out is enough, and then I'll delete it, because I think, do you know what, I can't be bothered, because I know what's going to happen. I press send, and you get about 1 million keyboard warriors coming through going, well, not 1 million, but a couple might say something, and you just think, what's the point? That's me on a good day. On a bad day, I might press send and then get in it with someone, So it all depends, and I just think I've just noticed a progression. A very long-winded way of answering your question, but there is just it's such a hard subject to say it's one singular thing. It just isn't.
Got it.
It's massive.
Yeah.
It's everything. Mental health is about everything around us. Everyone's circumstances will be different. The person who's got loads of money. I've seen it online. Like again, with the poor guys that died in the submarine that imploded, got such hate comments, like, because they had money, and I was thinking, wow, like it's just amazing just to see the viewpoint of people, and that's where they're at. It's just where people are at. Another time, I don't think that would have been the reaction. That would have been the response. I think another period in time, it would have been more compassionate. So the people are speaking because they're speaking on how they feel. You can only think how you feel.
Yeah.
If you're feeling shit, you're thinking shit. If you're feeling sad, you're thinking sad, right? So therefore, I think this is a reaction. I think we've become a reactionary country. I think we're being very reactionary with everything around us. And I speak for myself in that too. I don't know what the solution is, as you asked, but starting with our community, and obviously I think it's about identifying what your triggers are. So what are your triggers? Well, I know my triggers.
What are they?
My triggers are race. You start commenting on people's race and ethnicity. That's a trigger for me, because I hate it, because I just think it's ridiculous. I've just seen a post again this morning about the London mayor putting an advert out, and it's a white family, and it's a family. I don't see a white family, I see a family. And they're saying, well, that's racist because it doesn't represent London. Well, white people live in London, brown people live in London, black people live in London. No matter how you do it, someone's gonna, and I get caught up in that, and I hate it. I absolutely hate it, being mixed race. I absolutely hate it. So that's a trigger for me. So I have to be aware of that. Especially some of the immigrant comments as well. When you're looking at that, that's a trigger for me. When you're reading the hateful comments to run a narrative, I just think we're all human, man. We're all people, and we're blessed that we haven't got to fuck off from this country and get on a boat and go somewhere else. But you bet your ass every single one that's commenting in there, to survive, if you had to survive and this country was about to implode, right, then here you are, you got to go. We'll find a way. It's human survival. Now, unfortunately, there are some that might not have those motives, but we don't know what that is. So we're living in fear, some of these people, and they come up with this narrative, 2 + 2 = 5. you know, because there has been some awful things that have happened in our past because of people's real bad motives, right? I said I didn't want to get political, and yet I'm going completely political. But I'm being honest with you. These are some of my trigger points.
That's good, yeah.
You know, and that is because I am a person of colour, so it's going to be a trigger point for me. It's going to be a passionate area for me. You know, but that's one of my trigger points. Religion is another one. You know, I think.
Are you religious at all? Or?
I'm a spiritual person, but I just don't believe people should be ramming it down people's throats. I just think it's attraction, not promotion, man. It's attraction.
Yeah.
You know, people want to live how they live. I've met many people who claim that they are of a particular faith, and they've not been great people. You know, people who are about their faith don't go around advertising it. They live it. It's in the heart.
Yeah.
You know, and that's to me what it's about. It's in your heart, and I don't have to stand shouting at you in the street to get your attention. That makes me cringe a little bit. I get it, you know, but we're not in olden London times, you know, or like the old Christians that used to go around the whole world trying to do their teachings. Yeah, we've moved on from those times, you know, and I just think, I find that really sad that people are fighting over. To me, it's all one thing. There are many ways to say the word chair in different languages. It still means the same thing.
Yeah.
That's my view. And how people who listen or watch may disagree with that. Well, that's your opinion. You're allowed to disagree with it. I like to keep it simple. You know, I believe there's a power greater than myself. You know, I do believe there's something, I don't know what, but there is something. But I think when you look at, say, the Jewish religion, the Christian religion, the Muslim religion, it all comes from the same bloody place. All right? It comes from the same place. So, you know, the brothers and sisters, that's pretty simple, really, and it's warring over. It's just primitive, fighting over land, power. It's just primitive in my view, and I think it can be very old-fashioned when people try and impose certain views in a certain country. This country, for example, we're quite secular. We're quite, you know, we're a Western country, so you cannot start imposing views that are of a religious belief that are not in line with the way that the country is. It doesn't make sense. There's going to be a disconnect, isn't there? There's going to be a problem. I mean, you're Pakistani origin, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Karachi, for example, half secular, half really devout, clashing all the time because there's such differences of opinion. So, you know, that's my view really on religion. Got no problem with what religion anyone's got, what faith you've got. I just really feel that people need to live it, not preach it. It's attraction, not promotion, and not imposing those wills. You know, I don't go around telling everybody I'm a heterosexual male. I'm this, that, and the other, and selling my. You know, I don't have to do all that. You know, what I give should be attraction. But I sound a bit ranty, really. Actually, I think this morning. I don't think I've ever been asked a question like that, and I guess I've never really talked about that before. But these are some of the things that.
Well, you're passionate about it, clearly.
These are some of the things that can make me tick. It doesn't mean to say I'm right. I'm not saying I'm right.
Yeah.
I'm just like another person, right?
I think your message deep down is important, though, what you're saying, because what you're saying is stop labeling things. Just connect more.
Connect more, right? Listen, I've just been on holiday.
Yeah.
And do you know what I saw on holiday? This is why it's all politics. I've been on holiday.
Shall we change the show name? The political show.
The political show. But these are some of the things that are obviously bothering me. These are some of the things that I'm aware of. When you ask me what my triggers are. And I think it is important. But I've been on holiday. There were so many. I met loads of Palestinians out there.
Yeah, yeah.
Speaking with the Israelis out there. I met Iranians, Arabs, everybody out there.
Different cultures, different. Yeah.
And I love it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, that's what we're on this earth for.
I love that as well. Yeah.
I love connecting and understanding. You know,
different cultures, different people.
Like your lady here today, she said that she's Nigerian. Straight away, I want to know more. You know, it's interesting.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You know, we should be embracing culture. It's so limiting. I think the point I'm trying to make to get it back onto therapeutic point is they are limiting beliefs, and that's why I struggle with that. It's about taking that lid off and being limitless.
How would someone do that though?
Well,
travel more, meet more people, meet people outside your comfort zones. Hey YouTube, I'm really sorry to cut you off, but I have to share this with you. I want you to get to your next level, and I believe that personal development is the gateway to success. So what I've done is I've gone and created a 7-day free audio course. This is totally free. All you have to do is sign up, and from day 1 till day 7, every single day you will receive a 2-minute audio from me, which will elevate your mindset and give you power in your business. Make sure you go and sign up and let me know how you find it.
I think it's about education, isn't it? It's educating yourself around what's around. You know, find out. If you want to know a bit more, know a bit more. Don't just take it for gospel that, oh no, you shouldn't do that because they're this, that, and the other. Why not? We want to learn.
Yeah.
You know, if my parents followed that rule, I would never be alive. You know, it's so limiting. It's shit.
Yeah.
You know, it's so fun to learn other cultures. I went to Mauritius, one of my favourite places I went. They all celebrate each other's festivals. Hindu celebrates the Muslim, Muslim celebrates the Sikh. Amazing. And they say...
I've always wanted to go
It's
Mauritius.
a beautiful place, and it says on there, many people, one island, all Mauritian.
Is it near Goa? Is it near...
It's in the Indian Ocean.
Right. Near Maldives and that area.
That's right.
Right.
And it is absolutely amazing. You know, you get a chance to sort of meet different people, I think is invaluable, and understand different cultures. I mean, like, I'm Cypriot, right? So, and Irish. And the amount of Greek Cypriots that I've met, you know, I'm Turkish Cypriot and they're Greek Cypriots, but we're Cypriots, right?
Yeah.
But the amount I've met, I'm going, oh, we do that, and oh, yeah, we do that, and it's learning. You know, if we have that limited belief, and it goes further afield around class, around, you know, education, that kind of stuff as well. We shouldn't be, you know, you're in a poorer area or you're in a richer area. You know, again, it's the same view. We just should be just communicating, and limitless belief is what I'm a fan of, and that's why those are a trigger for me, because I just think racism is old hat. It's so boring. We're so mixed now. Like, my daughter's mixed. You know, my wife is Russian. My daughter's mixed. You know, I'm mixed. So, you know, a lot of us are mixed because we've got planes, boats and trains, and we've all met across the world, and we've all met. So I guess for me it's very old hat, and it doesn't work for me. And I just think we should just embrace and learn from each other, really.
Nice. Okay.
Sorry, mate, I think we've gone off on a massive little rant today.
No, I don't. No.
We'll cut that out, but we'll get back on point to some of the
No,
questions.
I think you're being honest, and that's fine.
Yeah.
We haven't gone on a
Is that
rant.
sounding all right? Yeah. Okay.
That was good. Yeah.
I'll have to just check, because I'm not...
We've not said anything.
No, but this is the first podcast
Yeah.
that I've done where you've asked different questions about different stuff.
That's the way this podcast goes.
Which is cool. I've always...
Yeah, this is how it goes.
Yeah.
We don't have any motives. It's just people need to see who you are and what's the message that you represent.
Yeah.
And, you know, so have you, because I clearly see you're passionate about this is why you do the work that you do and keep doing great work. Have you endured any traumas?
Yes.
And the reason I ask you that is because obviously of the work that you do. I'm just interested.
Yeah, that's fine. I've
don't
been
have to
through
answer,
my
but-
own trauma. I
Yeah.
personally don't talk about some of the trauma I've been through because it wouldn't be fair to people that are still alive.
Got it.
So I tend not to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've been through my own. I've been through enough, and then for me, I went through my own battles. I was in active addiction for many years.
Active addiction.
Yeah, so
Just, what is that?
So I was drinking,
Got it.
sniffing, smoking. I had quite a lifestyle. I think I knew at 19 really I had a problem, and I kind of just ignored it.
Till when? How long did it go
I got
for?
clean. I started when I was quite young, really. I had my first cigarette at like 12, but
Yeah.
I started using when I was about maybe 15, and drinking from about 13. And then by 19, I knew I had a problem, and then by 24, I was done. I needed to be done. I had.
So it wasn't like a 5 year, like.
Well, I
10
started
year?
when I was 13.
Right.
When I drank, I didn't stop. And 16 to 19 was all the time. It got in the way of my studies and lots of different things. And by 19, I kind of knew I had a problem. So I'd probably say from the age of 16, it was a problem.
Right.
Really. I couldn't miss out. You know, I was trying to do everything. And when I found substances, it was like a secret universe. And I'd discover I had the key. And off I went. And I loved everything about it. I think I loved it too much. And it was an escapism. And it was just all sorts of reasons. I didn't do drugs because I hated them. I did them because I loved them. And that was the problem. And I loved it too much. And then it didn't love me anymore and took over. And by 24, I was so paranoid. I was so thin. I was in debt. I was a risk to myself. And I needed to get clean, really. And so I did that. I went and got some help, got some support.
How did you bounce out of it?
It was a process. Look, you walk 6 miles in the woods, you've got to walk 6 miles out, you know.
But did something happen for you to realise that?
I had a mini intervention in my house, so my parents figured out something wasn't right.
Right.
I was trying to live a double life. And I think for a point, I was probably hoping to be discovered because it was really tiring trying to live that double life. Thinking nobody knew, but everybody knew, I think. And then the shame, the guilt, and the shame, and all of that, the fear. And so they kind of went and saw someone, and I ticked all the boxes, and they were like, yeah, we need to confront him around this and do it in the right way. I mean, my mum was like, we need to tread careful. My dad was like, no, we need to go in there. And then she was like, listen, we need to do this right. And, because they were both just scared, really. So they cornered me in the kitchen. And I was kind of I was relieved in the end. I just didn't have to give up that lie. Because I was so frightened of being such a big disappointment, such a shame, such a burden. Because I was always a pain in the arse. I was always a pain in the arse as a kid. Faking dad's report cards, always lying, always, losing stuff. I was just, that was difficult. And, so they got me the help that I needed to get. And I engaged in a support system that was invaluable, really. I started to learn that there was another life and that you don't have to be boring because you don't drink or use. And that actually people were happier, and I learned a lot about myself, about how I ticked, and realised that the drugs and alcohol were just a symptom, and really what was underneath that was all my characters, all my selfishness, my entitlement, my self-seeking, my self-loathing, loads of different elements to my character. And I went through this process, and I'm really pleased to say that the 1st of October I'll be 17 years clean, and it was the best thing I've ever done in my life.
Wow.
It's the most legit thing I've ever done in my life. And because of that, it's enabled me to go and do other things and see things through and do other legit things, and go back to night school and study and work and train. And I never thought I'd be a therapist. I never thought that would be, I still work in the nightclub industry, worked in sales, worked in everything, really. So I never really thought helping people would be my my sort of way of work, really. But it's turned out to be the most rewarding. There's something really gratifying around that therapeutic value, one helping another.
Yeah.
On that human level, because it just resonates in my heart. It just feels like the right thing to do. Yeah. I think any good person, if you see someone struggling, you want to help them. That's what a good person is.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that's in line with my goals, because all I wanted to ever be was a good person.
Yeah.
I thought I was a bad person, but actually I was an unwell person, and I had to learn that because I didn't believe people when they said that.
I like what you just said.
Yeah, I was an unwell person, not a bad person.
Very different, right?
Very different, and I've had the pleasure of working in all sorts of different areas to see that. And it's been a journey. It's been really, really, really good learning, and I still haven't learned it all. I believe once you've learned it all, I'll be dead by then. No one's cracked it. I'm always
constantly learning.
Always keen to learn. But for self-improvement, there has to be self-acceptance. Yeah, you have to accept who you are, and otherwise you're not really going to appreciate all these things that you get, right? So
It's interesting. For self-improvement, you have to have self-acceptance.
100%. Otherwise, these accolades mean nothing.
Love it, yeah.
You know, it's so important. That's why I've worked with so many successful people on paper, but they don't feel it because they don't believe they're worth it.
Yeah.
You know, they don't accept it, or they won't tolerate they can't handle success but won't tolerate failure. I was like, wow, like that's a real mixed place to be in. You know, I had like a massive ego with low self-esteem. No, that paper chat shouldn't work.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a very confusing place to be. So how can you sort the mindset out when you've got these kind of things going on? So that's why I was able to, as you said at the beginning, work in all these different areas. You know, I studied in therapy. I've worked pretty much every area of addiction you can in community drug and alcohol services and charities, like My Mental Health, Open Road in Basildon, Turning Point, you know, lots of different places, and private. I worked within private. I was a manager of a private rehab. I was a CQC registered manager, operations director for another private rehab, and it's just been a real eye-opener, and I've loved working in it, meeting all different walks of life, and worked in prison as well, on a detox wing in Chelmsford Prison. And yeah, that was interesting as well. So there's every area I wanted to explore.
You've covered, yeah.
In the courts, in the Crown Court and magistrates, you know, lots of different areas. But I love the one-to-one work.
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, and it wanted me to learn more. So that's why, you know, addiction is my speciality. But I work with many different areas. And then during COVID, I went and trained as a sex addiction therapist. Working with compulsive behaviour and porn addiction, and off the back of that comes some psychosexual issues. You did ask me a question, what is psychosexual issues? So let's say someone has performance anxiety.
You mean like having sex?
Yeah, so let's say there's some performance anxiety, so that's a psychosexual issue. So there's something going on for them.
Yeah.
And it might be that they were shamed in some way, or they've had a real negative experience, so that's with them all the time. So it's working with that and compulsion and that kind of stuff. And then I guess...
So you would help someone feel better about themselves so they can kind of remove that sort of...
Well, help them make sense of what's going on for them.
Got it, okay.
You know, it's because everyone
So
has
it's like
a story.
deep questions, right? Breaking it down, understanding where it's come from. It's like you're taking down a map, right? Or some, yeah.
It's not the event, it's the interpretation, as I said to you, right?
Yeah.
So everyone might be different. You know, you asked me a question, let's say porn addiction, for example.
Yeah.
Everyone has a different motive for watching it. You know, what's the motive? You know, with alcohol isn't the problem. The problem is your relationship with the substance.
This probably gets some sort of dopamine hit.
Well, you're absolutely right. So with porn, it's instant dopamine.
Yeah.
That's you know, but that's not how arousal works. Arousal needs to be built slowly over time. But with porn, it's instant dopamine. So the brain's now starting to get used to that instant hit of dopamine. But also why, that's from the science, the chemical sort of level, the science level in the brain. But why are people using it? Well, there are some people that will hide behind it. I mean, sometimes it can be used as a really positive sexual aid.
Yeah.
Porn doesn't always gets a bad rap, but sometimes it can. Problem you got is you can get anything and everything that you want. And so we all have sexual desire. And so it kind of broadens that sexual desire for people. They go down a rabbit hole for more and more dopamine. But also they might be using it because they don't feel very confident, and therefore porn will never let them down. They've been shamed in some way, so porn will never let me down, or it will give me my education that I need. I think the problem if you're going down that road is that it sets a wrong precedent of what a sex actually is, because it's a performance and it's not very glamorous really behind the scenes. But also it can be a coping strategy for trauma, attachment. People don't think about it that way. You can be addicted to anything, but it's not the anything that's the problem. It's your relationship with it that's the problem. That's the underlying issue of addiction. It's the overriding obsessive thought to change the way that you feel. And that can be with anything. So there's always a story. So my job is to understand their why and then work with the pain underneath the why. And then help them through that process and then get through it. But then that's all psychotherapy. But then I learnt about unconscious work. You know, I wanted to learn more. So I went and trained in unconscious mind therapy, and that's
What's
been a
that?
game
What is
changer.
unconscious? Is it?
So I basically wanted to learn some new skills, and I met someone through, well, Clubhouse was out then. I got into Clubhouse and realised I needed that. I think that was a really good saviour.
He's even good now.
I've stopped it, if I'm honest.
Have you? Okay.
I just haven't got the time, and
Yeah.
you know, I think it's really good. At the time, it was really, really good, and there's connections and there's networks, and then I felt it changed a little bit, and people were trying to sell you something all the time, and you know, you just have to know what rooms to go into. But there's more and more of that, and that was more and more separated from my values and my beliefs and my goals. And I guess I was using it for connection.
Yeah.
And I actually formed some really good connections, and so I made good friends with a guy called Robert Heisey, who's an unconscious mind therapist and he's a hypnotist, and he's just brilliant. And we've become really good buddies, really. And I come and trained with him, and we'll have many conversations and discussions, and we'll argue our points, and this is why psychotherapy is good for this, and you go, no, this is why this is good for this, and you know, it's really healthy debates, and really I learned a lot. It's, you know, when you're sitting in a therapy room,
Yeah.
you're talking more from the cognitive place, you know, your conscious state.
Yeah.
But unconscious mind therapy really focuses on the unconscious, and it's really the unspoken. You know, the body never forgets, and that work has been brilliant. I mean, it gets there quicker as well. It gets right to the heart of it, especially say with anxiety, for example.
Yeah.
The situation could be different, but the feeling could be exactly the same, and that's what you work with. So let's say I worked with a client once, and they were going through rejection. They come to see me about a relationship breakup, and they felt rejected.
Yeah.
But it was really irrational. They said it was overwhelming. It was too much. So I got them to sort of close their eyes for a process of visualization. Get them to take themselves. We turn off all of our senses when we close our eyes, and I got them to think about that event, that situation. I got them to scale the number and where they felt it in their body, and then I asked them to think the earliest memory they can recall, feeling that same feeling, even if the situation is different. But find the feeling, the original feeling where you felt that same feeling before. It turned out it was when he was picked last for the football team at school all the time. And he couldn't see that. He was like, wow, I didn't even think I was going to come in there. So that's what I work with. I work with that. So through some techniques and tools that we use to go through that process, we remove that impactful feeling. Because you can only think how you feel. If you're feeling shit, you're thinking shit. Remove the impactful feeling. And I said to him, how do you feel about your relationship now? And he said, to be honest, there was a lot of red flags in the beginning of that relationship. See, all of a sudden, cognitively, he's able to say what he really means. But because the impactful feeling is so much, it overrides the cognitive thought, and he almost influences the cognitive thought. Yeah, which is, I'm to be rejected, this is really awful, I won't always be alone, blah, 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 blah. And of course, it was tapping him to that unconscious feeling that he was always last to be picked, there's always something wrong with him. And so it was really interesting to work in that way, and just to hear him speak in the now to say, actually, there was a lot of red flags in that relationship, and actually, I know I'll get somebody better, and actually, I deserve better. And I'm looking for, there he is, there's a real him coming out. But it's impossible to do when you're, you know, hell-bent on holding on to those impactful feelings of the past. So that really helps. It's really good with trauma, really good with attachment, really good with phobias. I mean, I've got 100% success rate with phobias, which has been brilliant. And again, a lot of that is about making something silly and ridiculous. As soon as our brain accepts something as silly and ridiculous, we're no longer afraid of it. That's a fact.
Yeah.
You know, so a lot of these are rational. You know, it's no good going down in my view, a CBT route. You know, okay, and how, you know, what you're thinking and how do you feel and how do you behave and looking at little tools. That's all from the conscious state. But that phobia is very real from an unconscious place. So we need to communicate with the unconscious place to deal with that. And so hopefully they'll be able to view that as silly and ridiculous and then no longer be afraid of it and then go and move forward. I mean, it's been a pleasure to work with those sort of people. So I learned a lot of that through Rob, and now of course I bring my own sort of style. I use a bit of both, you know. You know, the psychotherapy element, because people need to talk, so people need to be heard and give them that space and that time and make some sense of what's really going on for them. And I do a bit of both really. So that's kind of been my practice for a little while.
Interesting. So, you know,
can I just say, can we put this on pause for a second? Because I really need to go to the toilet.
Yeah, sure.
That's all right.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I was going to ask you then your last final questions because we need to wrap things up as well. So, yeah. I'm enjoying the chat. I could go on for hours. So how does someone remove bad habits? What do you say?
I believe in abstinence.
What's that?
So abstaining, meaning not doing at all.
Right.
For a period of time.
So like a fast period.
Yeah, I mean, if you, it's hard to do. Like, say if you're overeating, for example, you can't not eat food, but you need to stop eating in that same way. So you'll understand your emotions and understand why are you eating in that way? What's your why there? And then what's the reason behind that? What's the pain behind that? So it might be, I'm overworked, I'm really stressed, you know, we want comfort. As humans, we want to feel good all the time, yeah? So certain behaviours to make us feel better. So I think with certain destructive behaviours, we need to abstain from that to be able to heal. And a lot of that is to do, it's not just around traumas and attachment and environment and lots of different life factors, but there's something in the brain, interestingly, especially with addiction, where the frontal cortex, which is like your guider, it's like your voice of reason, stops communicating with the midbrain.
Right.
And it's trying to, but the midbrain can't hear it. And so the midbrain needs to communicate with someone, so it just goes over to the pleasure sensor. And so the pleasure sensor, yep, keep going, keep acting out, keep acting out, keep acting out, and there's more pain, but it's eventually the pleasure becomes survival. It interprets pleasure is survival, and therefore it becomes one and the same thing. And that's why it's that overriding obsessive thought that changes the way that you feel, even if it's destructive. It keeps going, 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 going. When you go into a period of abstinence, you start to heal and learn about yourself, and eventually the frontal cortex can communicate with the midbrain again. And you know, that's why, for example, I don't pick up a drink today, because I know that that pleasure is there, but I understand that that is not survival for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Survival is abstaining away from it. So it's a healthier understanding of why I drank in the first place and how I am now and where my goal is. And you know, a lot of what you do is around mindset. And for me, I'm not going to grow. That will be back into that limited belief again. It's about limitless belief.
All connected, aren't they?
It's all connected, and your mindset's really, really important. And I know we didn't talk about it too much, but in terms of like the performance aspect, you got to focus on what you want, not what you don't want. And I think as human beings, we focus too much on what we don't want. What would it be like to focus on what you want? Now, it's not necessarily about being positive or negative. Let me tell you about positive or negative. I say to you, I'm going to fail my exam on Friday. You say to me, well, that's not very positive, Tan. You need to be more positive. I say, oh, I'm positively sure I'm going to fail my exam on Friday. So it's not going to work. What you might want to be saying to me is, well, okay, what's it going to do for you if you do pass your exam on Friday? What would happen if you pass? Well, you know, if I pass it, then I'll be able to get that job. And then what's that going to do for you? Well, then I'll be able to take that family away, and that will give me a bit more financial stability for the family. And then what's it going to do for you? Oh, it'd be now we're starting to visualize and understand and create and shape the idea of what it would be like to pass that exam. And if you focus and visualize that on a two-step process, imagine you've just achieved that goal and the positive emotions you're going to feel when you achieve that goal, and create a feeling.
So like manifest it and imagine it.
Manifestation, right. But more of the scientific element of it is it's fact. It's all about the neural pathways in our brain.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, I know you talk about manifestation or law of attraction, that kind of stuff. But the real science element of it to do with our brain is the reticular activating system. There's a bunch of neurons in our brain. It's the filter.
Yeah.
And we need that filter.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you wake up in the morning and say, I don't feel loved, your brain's going to look for information all day long that confirms you're not loved. Yeah, what you think about, you become. What you become, you think about the most. But if you start to visualize what it would be like, you've just achieved that, you've passed that goal, you've passed that exam, the evidence suggests that when you've planted it as a memory, you'll find more, you'll create the will and see the abilities to go and pass it by studying a bit more, not going out so much, really focusing on that, because you're focusing on your end goal, what you're looking for. It's in line with your goal. And these are kind of things how they work. I had an interview, and I was so overwhelmingly nervous. It was quite rare, but I was really, really nervous. And it's because the job meant a lot to me. It was really local. I was able to spend more time with my family. So it meant a lot to get this job. There's a lot riding on it. And it's good to have a bit of nerves, right? Because I want to do a good job. So I just started calming myself down, and it takes 30 seconds. So I'm standing there and I'm visualizing what it would look like to have a really good interview. Yeah, a really successful interview, and I started picturing the scene, and I could see moments of my personality be able to come through, and they were laughing, and we were building rapport, and I left there feeling like, yeah, I've done the best that I could, and it just felt right. And when I started to see that picture being really specific with the image, and the positive emotions that I would feel, I'm going to feel proud, because even if I didn't get it, you know, I've done the best that I can, but I weren't thinking that about the negative element. I then calmed myself down, opened my eyes, I felt a lot better. Went into my interview, and those things I was thinking about lent itself. Now, it was authentic, you know, I wasn't trying to force anything, but because it was in line with my goal, I just saw the opportunity and took it. I didn't second guess. And it actually enabled me to go. And that's kind of how Conor McGregor is a massive visualizer. When he fought Aldo, he said the same thing.
Yes, he was saying,
He kept seeing and seeing it and seeing it. So when it happened, he just did it. Because it's in line with his goal. So this is how these things work. And it's not that the universe just plonks it down to you. There are signs everywhere. But when you start putting it into your focus, you will start to see those signs. It creates that will. That gives you that motivation to go and step forward into that. Especially in the space that you do and working with the clients that you do. They would have seen these things, but then some of them might go, oh, no, I can't. I couldn't ask him. I couldn't do it. So that's why I was talking to the person at the bar yesterday. I've learned dismiss nothing. And as a result, what was really good out of that is that lady's actually training as a therapist. So we had a really good conversation, a really good connection. She felt value from it. This is what it's about. Do you know what I mean? And so these are the things that I've learned along the way. So focus on what you want, not what you don't want. You can do that 30 seconds a day. For 30 days, you change the neural pathways in your brain. When I lost my job as an ops director in a private rehab, I lost my job. And the old me would have been freaking out for days, weeks. So much responsibility, family, mouth to feed, daughter's extracurricular activities. Fucking hell, I'm going to pay for it all that kind of stuff. I had it for a day because I'm a human. Fucking hell, like, what am I going to do here? Like, I need to think sharp. The next day, I shit you not, because I've been visualizing and focusing, my mindset had changed. I was like, I'm really excited for my next opportunity. And what that enabled me to do was to interpret life in a different way. And then I was able to get on it, and all of a sudden I was doing this and it just coming in abundance because I was open to it. It's not the event that affects us; it's the interpretation to the event.
Interesting.
And that,
very true.
And that's what it's about, the mindset.
Yeah. So we were just at the part of an exercise you was talking about with regards to focus, and if you just do 30 days in a row, do this for 30 seconds, just focus on
30 seconds a day for 30 days. You know, one of my goals was to do take what I do more to a sort of bigger platform. You know, and I got a chance to be on ITV and for this morning show, and that was the start of it. And I was doing a few other bits and pieces, and I wanted to do more podcasts, but wasn't sure how to do all that. But I started focusing on it and visualizing it, seeing it, and then opportunities came. And rather than second guessing myself or doubting myself, thinking, you can't go in there, what are you going to talk about? You know, because that would be one of the things that come up. Like a bit earlier on. So I want to be real with you. So when you asked me some of what my triggers were, and I talked to you about, say, race and religion because they're personal to my heart, there was a little bit of me thinking, don't share this, don't share that, shh, keep quiet, what are you sharing that for? But actually, that's good for me to air that because it's me speaking my truth. But it's, you know, it can prevent people from moving forward in a way if they second guess themselves. So because I was visualizing, because I was looking at these things, these opportunities were always there. I just took them. You know, and I come up and done one in Liverpool, and because I done that one, you then reached out to me, and you was like, and then here we are again, and then off the back of that, I'm doing a couple more, and it's just in line with my goals. So I'm seeing it all the time, rather than thinking, oh, I'll get back to that person, or I'm not sure I could do all that. I'm more in the belief of what I have to offer and what I can say. So that's it working in my life. If that makes sense.
I like that. So just to wrap things up, how do people reach out to you? Because I know you do some private work as well. We'll put everything, you know, all your details in the description below.
Sure.
How do people reach out to you, and any final messages that you want to say to the audience?
I would say my final message is live your life like a loose garment, not a wetsuit.
What does that mean?
What do you think it means? Live your
Wear
life.
your shirt and wear it. I'm only joking.
Leave your shirt and wear it. Yeah, sorted, man. No, what I mean by that is, don't be so tight and constricted by everything. A wetsuit's all constrictive, isn't it?
Yeah.
Compared to a loose garment. You know, that's the approach to a lot of things. You know, I think the older I get, the more aware of things I used to just hold on to. They're shit. They're shit things. But they mean so much at the time.
Yeah.
As you're getting a bit older and wiser, I guess, and really being aware of your own mortality.
Yeah.
You know, there's a few mates, you know, young people have died of brain cancers and, you know, various different cancers and accidents and all that kind of stuff. Life's too short, isn't it? So
just relax a bit, right?
Just ease into it. Loose garment, not a wetsuit.
Yeah.
You know, just.
I like that.
It's not mine. I wish it was mine. It was someone who helped me who told me that, and I always tell him, I always drop it. I always say, I'll never say it's mine.
Yeah.
And I will never say it's mine because it sounds too profound to be mine. But it's a message for interpretation. We can all be like that and intense.
Yeah.
But actually, we just need to loose garment it. That's my view. And if people want to reach out, they can absolutely get hold of me through my Instagram, which is at Tanner Therapy, or on my website, which is on my link on my Instagram anyway.
So you've been telling jokes since yesterday. You've told me a few. So do you want to end this on a light?
I got no jokes.
Tell people some jokes?
No, I wasn't telling you any jokes yesterday. I was just taking a piss out your accent. I was just having a laugh.
But listen, look, thank you for being very honest. And I think it's been a really honest conversation. And keep doing good work. And we'll see you soon. And
appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
No problem.
Been great.
Thank you.
Nice one. Cut.